But speaking of new glass office buildings, on our left is another one. This is the Bank of America building. The Bank of America building here is one of our newest towers on the river, finished in just 2020. Now they also had to deal with that 30 feet for the pathway, that requirement, and they did so using these big kind of tripod legs there that are just vaulting the building by that third floor, which maximizes all the office space above there, but still creates your lovely little pathway. So, great example of compromise, constant compromise happening in a huge place like Chicago between a lot of different interests of developers, architects, city council. They meet in the middle, and the outcome can be some really cool architecture that adds to the accessibility of this river. Now we are entering here this kind of canyon of Art Deco. We're gonna have this beige Indiana limestone on both sides of us here, two Art Deco buildings. On the left, this is the Civic Opera building. The Civic Opera here is the second largest opera house in North America, over 3,600 seats. Massive Art Deco building again, deep windows, these really soaring lines, Indiana limestone color, and then the carvings of faces and wreaths and branches. Even the font of Civic Opera building on the building meant to look as if it were written on a Roman tablet. So that was the 1920s in Art Deco. Things were going great. We had all this money in the United States. We're spending it on really lavish architecture. But then 1929, the stock market crashes. We enter the Great Depression. And there is a freeze on the building of office buildings from 1930 to 1957. So over 25 years of no new towers. But when we restart architecture in the late 50s, early 60s, we will jump into modernism, which you can see here on the right, these two black boxes, Gateway Center 1, Gateway Center 2. We call this, appropriately, black box modernism. Now the father of this boring, minimalist style architecture was a man named Mies van der Rohe. Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, very famous German architect, comes to Chicago around World War II. And he said that less is more. This is sort of his thing, his catchphrase, less is more. So I think there's sort of an elegant simplicity to these black boxes, dark, stark. They are cheaper, easier to make. I would say these black boxes are maybe more functionally beautiful instead of really being as eye-catching, aesthetically beautiful, right? Okay. Why'd they build like that? How do we go from the fancy Art Deco style to simple boxes? Well, again, this is the post-Great Depression generation, post-World War II generation, people who are maybe a little thriftier, who are worried there could be another big crash someday. They don't want to waste money on fancy towers, so they keep it simple, the cost lower, and that's how they built over 60 of these black boxes in just Chicago alone during only about 15 years. But then we can just go on to the groovy